Welcome back, everybody. Got another video. First, I'd like to thank my friend Brett Romero for sending me this shirt. He knows I'm a big Bobby Chacon fan. First, disclaimer, nothing meant or intended to be used for illegal purposes. This is all history and information, knowledge. Everyone that knows me knows I like to compare boxing and bulldogs, and I'm going to preface this video with a little history on Bobby Chacon. First of all, that's where I got my name from, Schoolboy, because that was what he was called. You don't look like it in this picture, but the reason they gave him the moniker Schoolboy is because he was still in college when he turned professional at 18 years old. And he had a baby face, looked very young, even into his older age when he wasn't in these wars. He's a two-time world champion, featherweight and junior lightweight, and fought some Hall of Famers, beat some Hall of Famers, stopped a few times by Mr. Knockout, twice by Mr. Knockout, Ruben Olivares. And then in a rematch, he actually beat Olivares when they were older. Won the junior lightweight title. Had classic wars with Cornelius Boza Edwards and Bazooka Limon, Rafael Bazooka Limon. And this is their last match. They had 4 matches altogether. This one made Fight of the Year for 1985. And they had split 2 wins and had a technical draw. That technical draw, Bobby was winning. He was winning convincingly pretty much, and they banged heads, and they called the fight on a technical draw. The 4th and final match was the best of all 4. And it was a classic matchup of just sheer power and guts, determination. Even though Bobby was stopped a few times, like I said, by Ruben Olivares and Boom Boom Mancini and the ace puncher Alexis Arguello, he never quit, never would give up. And he fought past the point he should have. But in this fight, they traded blows seemed almost endlessly throughout the match. Bobby dominated most of the fights, or won most of the fights. Didn't dominate, a lot of them were close, but he won most of them. But Limon knocked him down twice in the earlier rounds. This is a time when there were 15-round decisions. This fight went to a decision. Bobby won most of the rounds, and he clinched the win with a late round knockout, almost at the end of the round, like 12 or 15 seconds left. The point in the fight, late in the fight, either the 13th or 14th round, where Bazooka Limon is thinking about quitting. You could see it. The commentator uses the word dead game. Both these fighters are dead game. But Limon wouldn't quit either. Got up off his stool and just kept going at it. Even after Chacon knocked him down late in the round, he still got up, was ready to continue. But the fight was over. Classic match. Like I said, guts, determination, heart, punching power, volume of punches, all that. And as I mentioned, Chacon, like a lot of fighters do, fought past the age that he should have. When they fought their 4th match, both of them within their 30s, I believe, with dozens of fights under their belt. Limon was a junior lightweight champion also. So in this fight, Bobby took his title. Which segues into this video, and is actually inspired by Hunterman. How old is too old? When it comes to bulldog, that's always a question that comes up, because people, for one reason or another, sometimes good reasons, sometimes not so good reasons, will push their dogs. So let's speak on maturity first. When is a dog mature? Generally speaking, by most dogs, by 3 years old, they're fully mature, mentally and physically. Some before that, 2 years old. But a dog is not mature under a year old, and a dog is not really mature at a year and a half old. Even at 2 years old, you're pushing it. Anybody who's competed with dogs knows that when they get older, they get better a lot of times. And that's what comes with that maturity. They're not fully developed at a year old. Sometimes they're not fully developed physically at a year old. So that has to be determined by the handler, conditioner, owner, breeder, whoever it is, the age of the dog. And just like children, they may be big and buff and tough and strong, but mentally they're still young. That's why you see a lot of young dogs quit. A lot of young dogs get ruined. So that should be taken into account. We've all made the mistakes of rolling them under a year old and even under 2 years old and pushing them too hard. Ruined them, or they suffered damage that they normally wouldn't because their bones ain't set, their teeth ain't set. And the result is, mistakes that we've made. Then when a dog gets to his maturity and the competition begins, and like a lot of my vids, I speak of the past, I speak what I did and what others did. I use all the terms, terminology, verbiage, all that, but a lot of this stuff can be applied today because competition is competition. Whether it's legal sports, hunting, or whatever your dogs are involved in a legal way, that maturity, that adulthood comes into play with both males and females. It matters. Generally, they're going to perform better after they're 3 years old. And we've all heard it, some dogs don't start till they're 3 years old. That's the same across the board with canines. There's differences depending on the size of the breed itself, the size of the dogs. It just depends. So all that should be taken into account. And throughout a career, the dog can sustain damage, both physically and mentally. Throughout their career, a dog doesn't sustain a lot of damage physically and mentally, right? So they're fresher as they move up into the old age. For me, the best time for my dogs, even though I did some under 3 years, most of them I would start 2.5 years. I matched 1 or 2 under 2 years old, 20 months, 18 months old, like that. I don't recommend it. Some dogs are exceptional, they can do that. Some dogs go into competition that's not that good and they can do that. And you just never know. If you put weights out there in the past, you don't know what you're going into. Sometimes you do, but there's a lot of instances you don't, because you're just putting the weight out and they're going to bring whatever they got. Could be a no-time winner, could be a multiple winner. Sometimes beforehand. You go gunning for someone and that's who you hook up. And you state, I'm going to use this dog, you're going to use that dog. And that's the dog you have to bring. That happened with Bill. I told them Bill's a one-time winner. They told me they have champion Jesse James. That's who they were bringing. That's who they brought. That's who I brought to Bill. He had won in 1:31 before he went into Jesse, and he beat Jesse in 48 minutes. So there's all those factors that are involved. What the dog has to go through, schooling, health, vitality, feed, conditioning, short keep, long keep, whatever it is. Those factors have to be taken into consideration. An experienced dog man knows the limits of his dogs. Before you put the dog, or at least I did, and a lot of other people do too, before you put them out for that first time, you should know their limitations. And you do know their limitations to a point. Because a lot of times, what you see out of a dog in a show, it goes past those limitations that you saw, but they're close. You know, if you're schooling a dog, if you're testing a dog, whatever it is, they're close. And the work ethic, all that. You know how much you can push them, you know when to back off, you know how much rest, all that stuff. You should know that way before you put a dog into shape for any kind of competition. Back in the day, if we're talking about that, or today in legal sports, even hunting. You know, hog hunters I knew, they would, you know, after the winter time, you know, the dogs are up and they're more heavy and they got weight and they weren't so active and this and that. They take them out and they run them just to get their weight down. And they may change their feed a little bit because they're going to start their hunting season, as it were. But they put them in decent shape so that they can go catch hogs. So all those factors need to be taken into consideration. But for my dogs, generally from 3 to 5 was their best years. Some dogs, if you read about them, or even you might know somebody, and I've seen them do this too, matched at 6, 7, 8 years old. I've even heard, whether it's true or not, dogs being matched at 10 years old. But it's been documented that Armitage Kager, Kobe's, when he got him, he was like 8 years old, and he tested him at that age, and he matched him after that. Armitage did. It's in his book. You can read about it. I'm pretty sure it's Kager. Might be Pincher, but I think it's Kager. But even Pincher himself was matched in and won matches at an older age. Been several grand champions that have done that. Buck and Sandman were 6 or 7 years old, maybe close to 8 years old. I think Buck may have been younger, or Sandman may have been younger, but they weren't 5-year-old dogs, I don't think. I'm thinking they're close to the 7-year-old age. Whether that played a factor in Sandman losing, I don't know. But both of them were grand champions. Sandman was a 5-time winner. Buck was a 6-time winner. When he beat Sandman, he won his 7th match. Long storied careers. Both of them had short wins, and both of them had long wins too, well over hour mark. More than one. I saw Sox Jr. He was about 7 years old. Champion bullshit. When I saw him rolled, he was 2.5, so he had his career. He won in 19 minutes, hour and 9 minutes, then beat Williams Taylor in 2 hours and 33 minutes. After that, I don't remember how long after that, but after that is when he lost to the 4-time winner, Champion Beast, in almost 2 hours. And I know he was well over 7 years old. Might have been closer to 9. I ain't kidding you. I would have to go back and check the dates and all that. But he wasn't 6. He had to be at least 7. And like I said, I'm thinking past 8, man. Because he had a long, long time. And, you know, he started out as a 38-pound match dog. When his last match, when he lost, it was at 41 pounds. I don't remember how old Tito's Champion Ninja was, but again, he was a 4-time winner, lost his 5th in 2 hours and 20 minutes to Vinny's Pete, and he started at 36. Last match was at 38. Mr. Rogers started at 33, went all the way up to 36. Tito's Ninja beat him at 36 pounds. The reason I'm mentioning the weights is that's another factor. As dogs get older, a lot of times they mature more and they're matched at a higher weight. Sometimes it's the right thing to do, sometimes it's not. You know, Teaser's Peaches, she was like a 39. She lost her last match. She was a badass bitch. Lost her last match at 41 to Tony's Sadie. Sadie was a good bitch too. She was a 3-time winner too. She's a 2-time winner before she went into Peaches. Peaches was a 3-time winner. One of her wins was in 12 minutes. And she lost in 1:17. As a little bit older female and at a higher weight. So all those factors need to be taken into consideration. And, you know, as quality improves, sometimes the distance of the match improves too. So you have dogs as they get older going more time. And some dogs are long distance dogs no matter what. We believe what happened to Corvino's Dempsey, Corvino's, what was his name? Dillinger, Evans Dillinger, and Corvino's Braddock are the same dog. I put a post up, a flyer, a poster that was circulated at the time they were going to match at 50 pounds. And in that poster it says Evans Dillinger. And it's the same dog as Corvino's Braddock. But all his matches, according to him, he's reportedly a 14-time winner, were over 2 hours. So I don't know how much damage he took. I don't know if he's a smart dog. I don't know if he wrestled well. I don't know the circumstances. But I do know that most, if not all, according to historians, his matches were over 2 hours. Quite an accomplishment. You could say, well, they weren't hurting each other. Maybe that's true. But to do that repeatedly over and over again in different people's hands and win in 2 hours, even if you're a soft-mouthed dog or you're a smart-mouthed dog, you still have to go that distance. And I don't know if all of them were conditioned matches, but they were for money. Very hard to do. We see that with Pinscher, 24-time winner. I don't know if they were all pit bulls. I don't know if they were all conditioned matches. But the way they put them out there, if a dog won money, whether it was a drop fight or country rules or whatever it was, they considered it a win. So that's how he could get up to beat 24 dogs. I would just say it was for the money. Whether it was $5 or $5,000, whatever it was. And again, you have a lot of these dogs, different people using them. Tudor Spike, 43 pounds all the way up to 46. Grand Champion Art, 41 or something like that, all the way up to 46, 42, I think Stinson told me his best weight was 43 pounds, but I know he was matched all the way up to 46 after Adams and Crutchfield bought him. His last match was at 46. He wasn't that old though, so that didn't apply to him. I think he was only 3 years old, or 3.5 years old, and was a 7-time winner. But the dogs go through a lot, and you have to pay attention. And a lot of times, you know, where you can tell maybe a dog has passed it or he's been put too much on him is after a hard show. And you got to know that when is enough, and they should be left alone. Sometimes people's ego get in the way. Sometimes they're challenged, and they, against their own good sense, they meet the challenge. Their dog ends up winning. A lot of times they end up quitting, even though they showed gameness previously. A lot of times you can tell in keep, especially with the older dog. They're not working like they used to. They don't have that spunkness to them that they used to. They don't have that focus, that desire, that work ethic. It's not the same. So I learned when my dogs got a little bit older, what I would do is not put so hard a keep on them because they didn't need it. Because if you put a dog through a keep or 2 keeps or 3 keeps, whatever it is, they hold that conditioning for the rest of their life. Not saying they're in condition the rest of their life, but they have that muscle memory. They have that built up of muscle. They have that firmness of that firm bone structure and that mental attitude. So you can do less and get the same out of them. And doing less means they're still in good shape, but you're not putting that extra stress they need on them. Because when you stress them in a workout, especially with the older dog, you can hurt them. You can cause ligament problems, muscle problems, pad problems. So that's why I backed off. I learned to, because I didn't always do it. You know, a lot of this stuff I learned as I went along. And it just seemed better. And that's where I would do the shorter keeps, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, like that, on a dog. Because again, like I said, I always, or not always, but regularly exercise. I was always kind of doing something with him. If it wasn't me, it was the kids or Angie, just to kind of keep him in shape. So they could always run 4 or 5 miles. They could always, you know, swim for half hour, whatever it is out there. Play on their chain for 15, 20 minutes at a time, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. You do all this stuff with them. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it's just consistent exercise. So if they're already fit, especially when they get older, you don't need to be that hard on them. But there comes a time when they need to be left alone. Some people don't know the signs. Some people don't see the signs. Some people see them and don't care. They're going to try it one more time. Sometimes the dogs win. Like I said, Socks, Buck. I'm sure there's tons of others, you know. But again, the downfall is you see these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-time winners, 1-time loser. And generally that's at the end of their career. And they either didn't make it, they either quit, or they lost and did survive, but they have a blemish on their record. They don't always pass away. In fact, most of them don't, but they have that blotch on their record. And everybody understands, yeah, you could always lose. A dog could always lose. But if you were going into a show knowing the dog is past it, that's on you. That's not on the dog. An example with hog hunting dogs, it was the guys I used to go with. This guy, he developed his own hog hunting dog, his own catch dog. I forget the dog's name, but he was about 80 pounds. He came from inbred pit bull. He came from hound dogs. Maybe had some Mastiff. Maybe had some Great Dane. I don't know, but he looked like a small, kind of a Great Dane, because he had an ear crop on him, but had that built, that muzzle, tall, deep chest. By himself, and he was about 80 pounds, by himself he could catch a 350-pound hog. And he was just so smooth and so strong and could finesse him, knew where to shift his weight and lay on him, knew how to avoid getting hit by the hog, could maneuver out of the way, go offense when he needed to, and could hold that hog by himself, you know, after he worked them. He'd work them till they got tired or till you got there, and then tie up their back legs, and you got a big old hog on them. But even him, he just never wanted to quit. One time we were out there and we're driving along to find the hogs, and this old dog, he was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years old. But you could tell he was old. He was buckskin or red, and he had the white. And he wasn't running, he was trotting along, and he was almost blind. And you could see that in his eyes, you know. It looks like cataracts when you look at him. But he was still out there trying to catch them hogs, man. He just had that desire and that want. They didn't let him catch hogs no more. They just picked him up on the way. But he had gotten out by himself and was out there trotting along, gonna catch him a hog. And that's the thing too, because the dog has desire and want. You got to know when to step in and leave him alone. Especially something stressful like hog hunting, something stressful in today's times like weight pull. You know, you could rupture a kidney or have some internal damage or something. You know, even with that. That's kind of how it related to Bobby Chacon for whatever reasons. And he had a tragic life. He had brain damage from it, went through all kinds of tragedies. And I had the opportunity to meet him. Just a nice guy. Always smiling, real cordial, friendly, give you advice. Told him I was his biggest fan. All that stuff you say when you're 12, 14 years old, you know. But just a nice guy. But for whatever reason, he himself wanted to continue fighting. And he did. It cost him, but just my opinion, a great fighter. Scrappy little guy, never quit. That's the way some of these bulldogs are, even when they get old. Just scrappy, never want to quit. So we have to have the good sense to know when to leave them alone. Because you make mistakes like that, you're going to regret them for a long time. You'll never forget it. You carry that guilt and blame with you for a long time. Whereas, let's say maybe they do have one left in them, and you back off and you leave them alone. No harm, no foul. Maybe in the past he was only a 4-time winner. You would love to have the grand championship, but you don't think he had enough left in him. He took too much damage, too much work. He's too old. Could be 7 years old, 8 years old. And like I said, I've seen dogs brought out like that, and they win. Most of the time they don't, honestly. Those are exceptions. And depending on the opponent, all that. But you get one of them old wore-out dogs on some young buck who never won nothing, but been properly schooled and has a lot of ability and youth. A lot of times they just blow right through them. That's why you see a lot of boxers, they're old. That's one of the reasons Mike Tyson knocked out Larry Holmes, who had a solid chin. He took the hardest punches from some of the top fighters of his day. Not saying that Tyson wasn't a badass, but Holmes coming off of years of retirement and jumping into a fighter like Tyson, who's young and hungry and hits like a mule, kicks with speed, took him out in 4 rounds. And to Holmes' credit, after that he went 12 rounds with Evander Holyfield. But he had more time to prepare like that, and Holyfield didn't hit as hard or as fast as Tyson, even though he was gamer and tougher, more skilled in certain ways. Tyson was a beast. At the time considered baddest man on the planet. That happens to dogs sometimes. Some young buck comes along and just ends their career dramatically. So I hope I covered it for you, William, and hope you guys like this video. It's something to think about. Even you're out there doing whatever it is you're doing with your dog legally, take that into consideration when the time comes that they need to be retired. So thanks for your support. Thanks for watching my vids. Everybody loved Mr. Gray vid. We're going to do more and more and more, and I'm going to have other people too. Looking forward to a spectacular 2025. I hope you guys have a great new year, and much respect.